Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Q&A Corner presented by HighTechU. My name is Andrew, and I am so thrilled to be your host for today's Q&A Corner. If it's your first time tuning in, welcome. We're so excited to have you. It's going to be a really, really great show. And just so we can make sure that things are running smooth, if you're in the chat right now and you can let us know if the audio is working fine, that would be amazing, just so that we can double check before we get off. And I'm going to bring on our interviewee, our industry expert, Jason, over onto the screen to get his audio working as well, and we'll get started. Awesome. All right, so we got Jason here, and I just got to unmute you, Jason. Actually, I think you can unmute yourself.
I can. Hey, how are you?
There we go. I'm doing fantastic. There we go. All right. I was noticing last time that I was streaming, I was peaking so much, and when I listened to it afterwards, it was painful, and so I decided I'll turn everything down. If anything, it'll be quiet and people can turn it up. So,
Right.
how's it going, Jason?
Pretty good, thanks. Yeah, it's been a busy couple of weeks, but I'm pretty excited to have a little bit of time off around Christmas. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I definitely hear you there.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to all of our stream chatters. Thank you so much, J Factor, for letting us know about the audio. And thank you all so much for being here, Jason, our watchers, and everybody else. So the way that today is going to work, if you haven't been to a Q&A corner before, it's pretty simple. This is just an opportunity for you to get to know Jason a little bit and for him to talk a little bit about his journey into the world of technology. If you've got questions, you're able to submit those questions in a couple of different ways. So way number one is in the chat that's just over there, or maybe down there, and you can go in there, you can type in some questions, and I'll communicate those over to Jason. And then I'm just going to switch over to my screen share. So the other place you can go is if you go to the HighTechU website right here, and you click on what's going to show up at the top, which is Q&A Corner with Jason. It'll bring you to the calendar. There's also a submit a question thing there. It's literally just a form that you can complete. So if you go in there, put in your name or don't, put in your email or don't, interviewee name, don't worry about it, and then just type your question in there. And if you want to do it more anonymously, or you don't have Twitch chat and you're just looking to do that, then you can go ahead and do that. And then, I mean, you can do any other way you want to as well. You can go onto our website. We've got this little box there. You can start a conversation with us in there. You can tweet it to us. You can Facebook it to us if you really want to. Any way that you want to try and communicate this stuff, you can go nuts. And I will be here to find out how you are doing that. So I'm going to transition back over there, and yeah, I think we're going to get started.
Cool.
Awesome.
I'm gonna try to embody your energy tonight.
You know what? I feel like just that's what happens when you drink like 6 coffees in a day to be prepared for your 6 o'clock interview.
Nice. I should have done that.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe to start things off, Jason, I know we put your bio out there, but some people might have just gotten an email and seen like, hey, there's this cool Twitch interview today. So maybe you just want to tell our stream viewers, or potentially our YouTube viewers if they check this out later, a little bit about you and who you are and why you're here.
Cool. I guess what could I say? Born and raised on the West Coast. I'm from Victoria. I went to Camosun, did the computer science program there, then did the bridge to University of Victoria. I got some great co-ops after that at a local company, and then I transitioned to do some contract work, and then moved into the company I'm at now, Checkfront. I've moved through a couple different roles at Checkfront, but it's a very brief overview. I don't know. I like to scuba dive. I like to hang out and learn new technology. So
That's awesome. Did you ever think that when you were going through that first Camosun program, that program degree, that you would be in a role like you're in now?
I don't think I knew what to expect, especially at that point. I was probably a pretty typical student at that point where you're like going through school, you're learning all this stuff. You're like, I have no idea if I'm going to be able to use this in my actual job, and you don't really know what jobs look like. I think I had this this moment when I was in school where I was like, oh man, do I want to be in a cubicle for the rest of my career? But obviously, I mean, maybe it's not obvious actually, but that's not how the industry is or how offices are, and definitely not during COVID. But
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so then maybe we'll go a few different directions because if you're just tuning in, if this is your first Q&A corner, this is really just a conversation and then your opportunity to jump in and ask some questions. But I'm curious about that question about like office space and COVID. So let's go like pre-COVID. What is the office space actually like for you? So it's not in cubicles. Is it Google? Do you have slides?
sorry, do we have
Do you
slides?
have slides like Google, like they like you see those images of Google, like the Google campuses, and they've got like slides going into ball pits, and
Oh,
they've got like all of that. They've got like pods where you can sleep in the middle of the day, that kind of stuff. Is that like your office?
absolutely not. No, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't try to get a slide installed. But obviously, it's not, no, that's not really the. Sorry again. It's not obvious. No, I haven't actually seen a slide, but I have in Victoria seen helicopters and buses and gondolas as like meeting rooms or places to just hang out. The check front office. I've been through three different check front offices now, and we've been trying to get a ball pit for a long time, but it's probably the extent of the toys.
That's fair. So if the Checkfront CEO is listening to this, your director of software development is petitioning on live Twitch for a ball pit for the office. So there we
Ball pits and dolls.
go. So like, what is that actually like? I mean, you hear about like open concept things, but what's that actually like? Just not actually having an office space and being constantly surrounded by people.
It's a big change. It's quite a big adjustment. Quite a few of my team members, I think, went through very similar things as I did. You realize you're on the computer, all day long. You don't go for walks. You don't see the sun. Like it gets a little sad for a little bit, and then we realize that we need to spend more time outside, and we're not spending enough time together. So we made adjustments. We had like really intentional team working times throughout the day or throughout the week. And then we tried to schedule like just fun games. I think we played Among Us yesterday. I just learned how to play it. I don't know if you've checked it out before, but it's a good time.
Yeah, it definitely is. I are the ambassadors for HighTechU. They've scheduled like a Christmas Among Us tournament, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play this game before the end of the year.
I'd recommend practicing.
So it looks like the CEO of Checkfront is actually watching the stream and just put in. So hey, welcome. That's Jason, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
Jason.
yeah, welcome. Hey, Jason, welcome to the stream. Super excited to have you here. Feel free to put any questions that you've always wanted to ask Jason and never thought he would answer. And feel free to get them now because this is being recorded and will live in infamy for a while now.
I hope he's happy that I said ball pit instead of something else.
So I mean, you've been in this career for how many years now? Like, how long have you been working in the software development field, I guess?
I probably have to check my LinkedIn, but I think I got my first programming job where I got paid in 2011, 2012.
Okay, so like almost a decade, hey?
Yeah, I might got that year wrong, but yeah, it seems like around that. Yeah.
So what would you say is what has changed the most in terms of what the tech industry looks like? So like when you started there and where you are now, what's been kind of the biggest shift that you've seen?
Wow, it's come so far, and to just say that it's come far like isn't really enough. Like I'd love to show you sometime, but like the developer experience, I think is one area that I've seen technology really like ramp up. When I first got when I first started work for Helm Operations, we were using some tools like Grunt and Gulp to like do our build process, and it was like a little slow, but pretty revolutionary at the time. Like, I definitely have to give credit to those tools. But now we have stuff like Webpack and Babel, and it's like really elevated the developer experience. And even tools like Heroku were really awesome 5, 6, 7 years ago, but there's so many more of those types of free hosting or ways to like get your tech out there. So I think it's become more friendly to early adopters, to people like learning and wanting to just try stuff, right? Like Google has all these awesome tools and lessons to learn about machine learning, or you can pretty much try any of their tools for free because they're free tier on almost everything. It's so generous, right?
Totally. And now, do you use tools like GitHub, stuff like that?
Absolutely, yeah. I use GitHub for most of my personal projects, but it's nice to try different things. So, at Checkfront, we use Bitbucket, and it's actually gotten a lot of really great updates recently. So um, yeah, I don't think I'm a loyal uh, repo person. Like, GitLab is great, and there's some other cool ones out there as well.
Totally. Now, have you seen that? This is something that every time that I have an opportunity on a stream, I take it out there. So there's this thing called the GitHub Student Developer Pack. Have you heard about this before?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. When I first graduated, I think it's available for the first year after you graduate. It is so cool. I think I told all my friends about it. I was so impressed with how much they just give you.
I
I,
know.
I think I only utilized some of it, to be honest, some of the GCP credit, but it's really awesome.
Totally. Yeah, and it's funny because as an educator, you can get access to it too. So if you're a teacher and you go through their campus advisor thing, then you get it. But they've got so much more stuff than they used to. It used to just be like, yeah, you get some Google Cloud credits, some DigitalOcean credits.
Yeah.
Now it's like you're getting icon packs and like interview prep, and like it's wild how much they're giving away for free.
That's so awesome. I'm pumped to see that like really flourish. Oh man, Stripe and Twilio are on there. That's really great.
Right? Like I'm looking at these things and I'm like, this is I will never leave school. I will give a university all my money, and I will actually still save more money than I would spend on all of these tools.
Absolutely. Well, the lovely thing about it is it's like encouraging students to become entrepreneurs or like practice their skills, or, either for free or really cheap.
Totally. So that's a good segue over into our first question, which has come through. I put out that question to Jason, and Jason responded. So the question is, what's the most difficult part of scaling in a startup, both professionally and personally?
What a great question. Okay, what's the most difficult thing about scaling in a startup, professionally and personally? Professionally, I mean, at least through my experience. So this is, I guess, my opinion. You gotta be scrappy in terms of technology, um, and from like my entrepreneurial like background, you gotta just go for your MVP for everything. Everything needs an MVP, and just get feedback on it. And maybe it's not performance right off the bat, but keep pushing on that. So um, one of the hardest things as like a team is to like make sure you're all on the same page. It's really easy to just go off and do your own thing and build whatever you think is important, but checking in with your team and making sure that they're growing in their career and working on the right things and getting feedback and is really really important. I would say personally, I think it's an emotional roller coaster, one that I'd highly recommend. But yeah, it can be some highs and lows in terms of like you got these deadlines, or you're totally stuck on a project and you don't necessarily know how to finish or take it to the next step, and you like get stuck in there for a couple of days, and it can be really draining, but it's so rewarding when you come out to the other side, right?
Yeah, it's true. Now, would you? So you say MVP. So we've got people that are going to watch the stream that have no idea what those three letters mean.
Sorry, yeah.
So like, what is that? Like the words, what do they mean? But also in practice, like, what does that mean for somebody that's building out some app or some design that they're wanting to create?
Totally, totally. You know, the probably the most MVP is for minimal viable product, but you know, probably the most debated acronym that I've at least seen in software. Um, Everyone will have a different opinion of that, and especially when you're starting like on a side project or even a project at work, it's kind of the same thing. There's a lot of debate around like what the minimum necessary set of features is to actually ship that, and it's a constant battle in a great way because it's, you know, it at least shows that people are engaged around it. But um, MVP. Yeah, I think in my opinion, as soon as someone can get value out of the thing you've built in as small a way as possible, then you've reached it. And and the biggest lesson I actually learned in my own start project this year is to just share it. Just share it as early as you can.
So is this, by the way, is this that side project that you're talking about, or one of them?
Yeah, yeah. This is a little passion project I built for my with my wife and for the company she works at right now.
So are both you and your partner developers? Like you're both in the world?
No, no, she works in the legal field,
Okay.
so it was more like an office environment. So yeah, had very different challenges, but I was hoping to find like a way to bridge that gap and work on a project with her.
Nice. Now, do you find that that in the world that you live in, because I'm trying to figure out the best way to phrase this. So I would say in the years before I got connected into the tech industry, I really looked at it as this very technical field. It was all about people that love just getting their teeth and sinking their teeth into code. But I've since discovered that really it is this creative field. It's this group of people that love building and creating things, and they want to, like, you literally put some code on a screen and then it turns into something else. Like, do you find that a lot of the developers that you work with are having these side passion projects that they need to get their creativity out somehow?
Yes and no, absolutely. I see it. I don't think everyone does, and it depends on maybe where they are in their career and what they might be getting from, um, you know, either their work fulfillment or otherwise. You know, I think I don't know if I'm in a unique case. I don't think I am, but I started my side projects really early into my career. I had a boss who just like sent me new technology every day, and I'm like, oh my god, how does this guy keep up with it? And I just started trying them. Like, I did ran through the tutorials, and it kind of got my, you know, excitement and passion to keep learning. Um, you know, side projects are a funny one. I don't think they're by any means necessary for someone in their career, but it is a great way to express your creativity and, you know, just, yeah, build something. You know, everyone has great ideas. Like, it's a it's about whether or not you want to put the time in to learn how to do it.
Yeah, it's so true. So we've got a lot of viewers on the stream. I'm super pumped. Like we're killing it today. So if you're just on the stream, welcome. I'm Andrew. My name is down there. That is Jason. Oh, I always point the right way. There we go. That is Jason. Jason's our guest.
Oh,
Director
wrong.
of director of software development at a local Victoria startup called Checkfront. And we're just having a chat about all things dev and things related to dev. So if you are here and you're wanting to know something specific, Jason put no bars on the conversation. So I'm sure he really wants to talk about the exact amount of money that he makes and all of his stock options. So feel free to throw in those super intense questions. But seriously, if you've got a question for Jason about his career, how he got there, throw it in, because otherwise we're just kind of talking about all things tech, which is great. But we want to give this an opportunity for you to get some questions in there. So
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing I'll mention in terms of creativity and people in the tech industry is I always thought, at least when I was early on, I always thought it was going to be a lot of developers, but it's really not. Like it takes a lot of different people to build a business, marketers and salespeople, and people that are just great with customers and good communicators. Everyone's creative in their own ways, and they're all using software in their own ways, but it definitely takes a team of very diverse sets of perspectives and skill sets.
It's true. Yeah, and I find like especially now, I mean, I'm a big open source fan. That's an area that I love. And really, if there's a tool that's out there that you're using on as a SaaS platform, so that's like software as a service. It's where you go and use the platform. That's like Google and all these other ones. But like all of these platforms have open source projects that are out there that you can do the same thing, or there's smaller companies that are doing it as the same as the big ones, but it's so hard to find them. So if you're just a team of developers building something and you don't have those marketers or you don't have those people that can help you bring it to the next level, then it's so hard for you to scale a business in a really effective way, right?
Totally. That developer pack that you showed a few minutes ago is a great selection of tools. I think I saw CodeCov on there. I think I saw some mailing stuff, customerly. Yeah, this is awesome. Like this is kind of your toolkit. Like don't spend the time researching. Pick one in this set, right? Because these are the people that are investing in developers and students and entrepreneurs and are clearly like well developed enough to be able to do that.
Now, how do you feel? Because now there's this big low code, no code movement. So like you can not be a programmer and you could literally build a functional piece of software really effectively and never really have to do that. For somebody that's like starting out and they want to build an MVP, do you think that's a good way to start, or should they build it like from scratch and learn all of the nuts and bolts of things first?
I'd be curious to see what other people say, but I would recommend personally, like, don't let anything get in your way of learning something or releasing an MVP. So if the technology barrier to entry is super low with something visual, then go nuts. It's a great way to learn and transfer those skills. All programming languages have similar concept, right? There's if statements and while loops or loops and error catching and that type of stuff. So um, yeah, just learn anything you can. I think actually Google, no, it was on code.org. I challenged my wife to play the frozen coding challenges and she loved it. I don't think I spoke to her the next 2 hours.
Yeah, so maybe that's a question. So when you started out programming, so when you first got into it, were you a kid, a teenager? Was it like post high school? Like how did you like discover this world that you now are paying the bills with?
I guess it depends what you consider programming. I took some like HTML courses in high school. I don't know if that's necessarily programming, but it's the fundamental building blocks to building websites and web applications.
It's true. I feel like there's a lot of people out there. I like the fights of is HTML a programming language, and even when we work with kids, a lot of them say like it's like what programming languages do you know, and they all say like I know HTML and CSS, and you're like, well, I mean, is that wrong? I mean, right? Where's the
So,
line?
people are going to have their opinions, and I don't know if I have my own, but you can do a lot with HTML these days. So absolutely, I'd say if you're learning something that takes you in that step, then I think it's fantastic. But otherwise, I think my first really introduction to actual programming was maybe college. I took an intro to Java course and I got crushed. Like I think I passed the course, but I didn't do very well. Like I put in a lot of time and I just didn't really understand some of the concepts at the beginning.
Totally.
It's
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, it is, and it's funny. I remember I was talking to somebody about a student about this yesterday. My first experience with programming that turned me off was I don't know if you ever used Visual Studio, not Visual Studio Code, but Microsoft Visual Studio.
Yeah.
like back in the day, and it was ugly, it was clunky, it was just like this experience, and they were like, build an app where you click a button and it pops something up on the screen, and I was like, that's what programming is? That sucks.
Yeah, absolutely. Even other IDs like Eclipse or are very similar in that regard. But yeah, what was that? Do you remember Dreamweaver?
I do remember Dreamweaver.
That was awesome. I think it's come a long way since then. I keep hearing that it's pretty good now, but
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? My first job in nonprofits and youth work, I have a look about me. I wear glasses. I am this kind of nerdy looking guy, and so when I went in, they automatically assumed I knew something about technology, and they said, "We need a new website. Can you build us a website?" And I said, "Sure, I can build you a website." And I went and found the cheapest WYSIWYG thing that I could get, and it was called Zara Web Designer or something like that, and
oh,
it's terrible because when you look at the code afterward, it's just garbledygook. You can't do anything with it. And I felt so good. I was like, this is the best thing ever. And now I look at it and I'm like, oh God, I would never touch that again.
but that's how you learn, right? I think if you talk to anyone who's learned any sort of coding or technology, they'll look back at the projects or the stuff that they built and like, oh no, I'm so embarrassed. But that's how you get there. And honestly, I think people should be like, more proud and celebrate.
That's so true. Yeah, and Chris on his Mac in the chat just said front page for the win. So yeah, definitely.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
And what's funny? So there's a new no code platform that's just come out. It's on GitHub. It's called Buddybase or Buddybase, and it's a fully integrated system. So front end, back end, so you can build an entire web app with this thing,
Wow.
and it's beautiful. It's smooth. It auto deploys to AWS when you're done. So like you go through the system and then you click a button and it auto deploys for you. And I'm just like,
Nice.
this is where we've come. Like even in the 10 years since I touched an environment like that, it's
Yeah. Yeah. CMSs, I feel like there are thousands of them these days. And they're all unique in their own ways and probably awesome in their own ways. But after building one for Checkfront, which I'd highly recommend, site builder, totally no coding necessary, but it's it's pretty easy for anyone to build a website, and that's a great foray into to learning some new tech, right?
That's so true. Yeah. So, anyways, if anybody's interested, this is that buddy based platform. So it's like super easy. It's a super active community. It's free and open source as well. So like, and it's a non web browser based. So you download it on your device, on your Windows or your Mac PC, and then you build it all on your device and then deploy. So it's like you don't even need to worry if you have fast or slow internet because it's all on your device, which is pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so let's jump back over to a more important conversation because people that are on the stream, we've got, I recognize some of the folks that are here. They're studying software development or they're studying engineering right now in school, and they're like, I want to get hired. You're a software development director. I'm going to come apply for Checkfront. What is it that they're going to do when they get into that interview that's going to wow you, that's going to impress you and land them that job with your company?
Well, I don't want to promise any jobs.
That's the right answer, especially when your boss is on the stream.
You're both
No.
my bosses. Yeah. No, one thing I tell students pretty often, and this is really true, when you're learning in school, like it's a lot, and that's really great. But projects are a really great way to show that you're learning, and it's a great way to show that you're learning a lot. And I don't really personally care if you're just doing the tutorials from 20 different things, you put them up on GitHub, but that shows me that you're like actively learning and growing in your career, and you're like not scared of like not knowing how to start something up, or you don't want to read the docs. Like you're putting in the work, putting in the effort. Like it takes time, and I think that's it at the end of the day. Like you know uh, there's a lot of competition right now, I don't want to discourage anyone from getting a job in the industry, but it will really set you apart if you can show that you can, um, yeah, bring some skills to the company. It's not necessary though. Like for example, we've hired some co-ops in the past, and definitely um, some recently actually that didn't know programming at all. Like we're a React and PHP stack, and they came in and they kicked some ass, and we're really actually happy to bring them back as a junior dev in January. So, just a short 8-month term, they really like showing us what they could do and that they can program and learn how to program. Um, so if you're not necessarily, I think they're a math background. So if you're not necessarily in a developer role or a software comp side, that's totally fine. Like show us what like you're learning and like doing cool projects in other ways, and you're excited about technology.
Totally. By the way, I should have said this at the very beginning. So it's the episode's not being sponsored by Checkfront or anything else. It just so happens that we want to show all these really cool tech companies that are in Victoria, and it just so happens that Gusto on our last one is based in BC, and just where Jason works. But if you're interested in where Jason works, this is the website. That's the website for Checkfront. They're a really cool company based here in Victoria, so definitely check them out. They're doing some pretty cool stuff, and they've got a really awesome team as well. Yeah, and that's our part of the show where we say please don't sue us for putting the logo on here. I'm so sorry. So yeah. Anyways, so maybe jumping back into there. So what I've heard from a lot of people in the sector that there's kind of two areas that you have a lot of folks that are in tech. They're either kind of the customer facing, like they're really good with people, and then there's the developers who don't really want to look at people. They want to just look at features, and that there's like this mythical developer unicorn person who is amazing at building and understands that process, but also is willing to go and talk to customers and understand how things work. And I'm just curious from your perspective, like, is that true? Are there a lot of those out there? And if not, is it something that new developers that are coming through should focus on building out some of those communication skills, the customer facing skills, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, even to touch on your last question, communication skills are something we look at when we're hiring any role, and pretty heavily. We want to be able to know that we can, teach, like I said, and mentor you and grow and make sure that you learn the stuff that we're working on. I think that if you're a strong communicator and you are able to communicate cross departments and like skill sets and be able to communicate something highly technical to someone non-technical, then again, that's a great way to demonstrate that you have good communication skills. But they'll suit you well in your career. I think it'll definitely help.
So by the way, just before I want you to keep going, but I just want to, this is our best stream, I think, ever on HighTechU. There are like 20 people in the chat right now that are watching. Those are ones that are logged in. So like, Jason, you're killing it. You're famous. You're pulling people in. So thank you for being so awesome. And just people want to come and see you talk.
Well, I hope that they're not all just from Checkfront and just
No, we got a couple people from Checkfront, but we got a lot of youth and parents that are out there. So if you're just tuning into the stream because we've had a big influx of people, maybe you're just done dinner, then welcome to the stream. You're our Q&A corner presented by HighTechU. We're based out of the Faculty of Engineering at the University of Victoria. Today we've got Jason Michaelwood over there, who is the Director of Software Development with Checkfront, which is a local startup here in Victoria doing some great work. We're talking all things tech, pathways into tech, how to get hired in tech. I'm probably going to ask Jason a question that he's not comfortable with soon, and I'll get a weird look. So like, we've got all sorts of stuff going on, but if you'd like to participate, these are interactive sessions. We got a chat over there, or down there, or maybe up there, or I don't know, somewhere. You can just shout it out into the world. If you just shout, we may hear it here in the Twitch world. So you can do it there. And then if you're tuning in and you're like, if you've been watching this on YouTube when it goes up there for a half hour, kudos to you. But if you're on YouTube and you're at this point, I invite you YouTube watchers to put comments down below, and I will communicate them to Jason through the magic of technology. Yeah, so feel free let's throw some questions in the chat, but I'll kind of throw back to you while people are pondering their
Sure.
questions. What is kind of the biggest thing that you see in new developers that come to work for you? So either like fresh out of university or co-op students, that's like a big pet peeve. So it's something that you see and you're like, stop doing that. That's bad. That's a bad habit. Don't do that anymore. What's that for you?
Oh man, I don't think they're. I'm sure I can think of something. Um, I wouldn't call it a pet peeve. I think this is something that people that don't know about team-based projects. And I think a lot of universities do a really good job at, or any school for that matter, do a really good job at like doing team-based projects. But that's like reality. Being able to work in a team in your professional environment is, in my opinion, like such a blessing. You get stuck on a coding problem and you just like you want to cry a little bit sometimes, but you can just like send someone a Slack message or open up a Zoom call and be like, hey, Andrew, like I've got this I've got this error that I don't understand. Like, can you just help me get through this because I've been looking at it for too long. So to tie that back, like I think it. I'd love to see people reach out more often. Utilize the people around you. Not even necessarily out of school, but throughout your career. Like, it's you don't need to be doing it on your own. It's a collaborative environment.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I feel it's like you go through your academic career, and it's sort of do it on your own. Don't cheat. Don't copy from other people. And then you get into
Oh,
the kind of business environment, especially in the technology world, and it's like, why recreate the wheel? Because there's people that are out there that are doing it, that are building it, that are wanting to share their things with you.
that's actually another great example. I think you probably actually knew this one better than I did. People love to rebuild the wheel. Like, there's a lot of great libraries, like you mentioned out there, like Lodash or React, and people are trying to like um, you know figure out what they've done and reverse engineer it or write their own like deep copy. And I've definitely been guilty of this. Tyler Weirs will um, call me on this. Like, I'll build my own copy function and I totally regretted it. um, yeah, don't reinvent the wheel. Like, or copy pasting is totally fine. It's like, especially inside the company, right? Like, that's the company's IP and the company's technology. Use it.
Totally. Um, yeah, and it's funny. So I was reading a Reddit article the other day, and somebody was saying that in the big six, so like Amazon and Google and Microsoft, that you can't just copy from Stack Overflow. You can't do it. It's not allowed. And it's funny because much as I believe that that's true and that's the policy, I can't imagine that if somebody's working as a professional developer, at some point they're not still going and looking at other stuff, and they need to learn it and understand it so it doesn't affect things. But
Yeah,
even in those environments where you can't copy from Stack Overflow, you're still like referencing documentation and other examples
yeah,
and interacting with people, right?
yeah. I don't want to discourage people to go to Stack Overflow. There's definitely a time and a place. Professionally at Checkfront, I would discourage my team to do it because I hope that they would like reach out to someone inside the company. And like you said, go to the documentation, like read, the Vue docs or the Knockout docs or the React docs, and like understand what's going on and like really dig into it. And that code is open source, so if you don't have your answers from the docs, like maybe take a look at the code and really do a deep dive. I think that'll serve people a lot better than looking at Stack Overflow for an answer that or a solution that they don't really understand. I think it's personally worth to like spend the extra, hour, 2 hours, however much it might be, to understand what you're putting into the code base and be happy with the solution.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
you do, I think we post Stack Overflow links. I don't think it's often that we post or you pull from Stack Overflow. Not that it's bad, but we don't. Again, we're working on pretty like unique stuff that might not have an answer in Stack Overflow. So
Yeah, fair
yeah.
enough. Okay, so we've kind of talked about a little bit about how you got in there and where you're at now, and for people that are going out there, what are the perks of the world that you live in? So like you kind of like get to create all the time. So I'm curious about like what are the best parts about this job that you've gotten into? So if there's somebody that's out there and maybe they're looking at going into science or they're looking at going into like traditional business, maybe they want to be an accountant, but they've got a technical spin, why would they want to consider a career like software development?
Like software development specifically?
Or just like working in the tech world. So I mean, yeah, I guess this may be a fairly broad question, but I mean, there's tech in a lot of companies, and then there's tech companies. So
Yeah.
your kind of role has been in a tech company. What's the perk of working in that kind of an environment?
Yeah, yeah. I truly believe this, and I'll stand by this to anyone, that there is a role in every tech company that kind of is transferable to a lot of other companies. Like if you're working as a cashier or um, that's like customer service skills, that's directly transferable to customer support, customer success, like building relationships with long-term clients. If you're I don't have a good sales example, but if you're selling, I don't know, vacuums, what do people sell?
That's
Oh no,
the best.
retail, right? You know what I mean, right?
I do, but I love the vacuum because that's where I would have gone to. I'm just like, yeah, people sell vacuum cleaners
People
door to
buy
door.
vacuum.
I really hope, I'm hoping that I get a vacuum cleaner salesman come to my door in the near future because I would buy it. I would. Because,
Nice.
yeah, totally. But yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. No, there's a lot of transferable skills and a lot of like transferable jobs. So whether my first thought when you were asking that is like, to me, it's highly collaborative. That's one of the best things for me. But there is something for everyone. There's a lot of like individual contributor roles. There's a lot of roles that just let you do your work, and you might not talk to people on a day-to-day basis, but if that's something you love, then there's a lot of really awesome outlets to either collaborate or hang out with people and get to know people from other teams, other departments. And at least for Checkfront and a lot of the teams that I've been on, like, we like to have fun. We spend a lot of time at work, so we'll either go skiing or have like fun volleyball events at the rooftop or whatever it might be, and just hang out, have picnics, or just spend time together, not working. So I think that's one of the best parts, at least for me.
I like it. Okay, and now the opposite to that, keeping in mind that that your bosses and potentially half your team, because I really don't know who all these people are on this stream, may be watching this. So, what is the least favorite thing about what you do? Now, you could do that interview thing as well, where you spin like a negative into a positive. It's like, I hate having to work with such amazing people all the time. They're so great, and it makes me want to do better. But don't go down that road.
I love the people I work with. Truly, like, there's not someone I don't. um, what what are some challenges?
By the way, that's a very manager way to rephrase that. You can tell that you've been in management or like working with people. You're like, you reframed that to challenges. That's solid. So, anybody out there, always reframe. Always reframe.
What was the word you used?
What's that? I don't even know.
Well,
I think I said what is a bad thing. I think I used the
right.
term bad thing, or maybe I did use challenge, and I've done the same thing.
Yeah, I am a big fan of craft beer, so my honest answer is when the keg runs dry. But I know this is like a bit of pretty like broad audience, a lot of kids. Like, not it's not all about the alcohol at tech companies, but it is a nice perk sometimes. Anyways, um, COVID has definitely thrown some curveballs. Maybe I'll focus on that. Like,
Totally.
I'm a pretty social person, and I don't get to hang out with my team. I don't get to, like, I see them every day, but I can't say like, this is something that's on me. I don't get to like tell them that they're doing a good job enough. Like, I can do it on Slack sometimes, and I probably should do it more. But I don't have like high fives and like nice job, like that verbal stuff to me is really really awesome. So I don't have that.
That's
Is
totally
that
fair.
enough
That
of a negative?
no, that's a great. It's really great, and I say this with all like love, and I think that's great. I'm just like you just perfectly spin it. I don't get to say how awesome my team is enough. That's like that's perfect. You're hired. You're hired. You can come work for us. No, but I hear you. I mean, we hired some software development folks that, or like a marketing and a software development intern this summer, and it was fully remote. And we've just hired 6 high school students for their first ever software
That's
experience,
so cool.
and it's super cool, but it's going to be fully remote, so it's going to be this kind of weird experience for them. But I'm super excited because the world has been doing this for a little while now, that we're kind
Yeah.
of more well planted to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of cool tools out there to like engage with your teams.
Yeah, it's so true. And well, like, what's your go-to collaboration stack? So it's funny. Before getting into this, I had no idea what Slack was. I really didn't know what GitHub was. I didn't know about Discourse or Discord or any of these things. What does your kind of team use for both the kind of team collaboration? But I'm also curious for people that are like wanting to learn project management skills. What do you use for like planning out how you're going to do things and documentation, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, yeah, cool question. I think there's a right tool for the job, and there's so many cool tools out there. So, the tools that I really love to use are like Trello and Asana and actually Jira. I'm a big fan of Jira. It's kind of enterprisey, but it's a project management tool. I actually bought Trello, so it has like all of the nice features of Trello kind of embedded. It's also like a wiki. So I think that's actually one of the really awesome collaboration tools that we've really started to leverage a lot more in the last year. Putting a lot more documentation into our space, and yeah, Jira, like any Git platform is highly collaborative, regardless. And as you mentioned, Slack. In the age of COVID, Zoom or Google Meet or Microsoft Teams are kind of essential. There's a couple really cool spin-offs. I'm blanking on the names of them, but it I think you like turn into a little pop-up on your desktop and your whole team is there. And I think you can like kind of poke them. Like, I don't know how it works, so maybe I shouldn't describe it, but
No, that's good. I like this description. Somebody go based on that description and find what this tool is. If you know it, throw it in the chat, and otherwise, I may just Google that entire statement and see what I can find afterwards, and I'll put it on the YouTube comments or something.
if you find it, they're doing some good SEO.
There you go. Okay, so like that kind of stuff, and what
Yeah.
about for uh, no, I guess that's true, because yeah, you talked about documentation, you talked about kind of the project management, like that Trello piece,
One
Asana. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, the one I was going to mention, or the last one I think is by far not the least, is a diagramming tool. We love Lucid Chart. There's a lot of other free or I don't know what Lucid Chart's pricing model for just one person is, but there's a lot of other really great diagramming tools out there. It is This type of stuff is highly underutilized, and just a small picture or a diagram of showing like what a systems architecture you want to build, or like a proof of concept, it can go a really long way. So it's something we use pretty heavily at Checkfront, and since we have started to use it, like there's a lot of ambiguity broken down. Actually, one of my former coworkers, he put our system architecture into Lucid Chart, and he challenged the entire dev team to be able to draw it by memory. And if I think if they did, they were going to get a coffee. So I'm not sure if everyone did. I think I had a bet with them, but it was kind of a win-win for me. Yeah.
So it's funny. So somebody in the chat, Chris, thanks for sharing this out. I've actually used this platform. Have you seen this before? Is this the one that you're thinking of, Jason?
Sorry, it's a little blurry. What is it
Oh,
called?
sorry, it's called Gather. Is this the one
Gather.
that you're thinking of?
No, but it looks awesome.
Yeah, so we used this for an event that we did, and basically you're like a video game character and like a pixelated video character. You walk around, and if you get close to somebody, a video screen pops up, and you can like interact with people. And there's like virtual whiteboards. It's super cool.
That is really cool. Yeah, good drawing tool is awesome. I think Google has something in their G Suite. I don't know if I personally love it, but enough to recommend it. But at least it's something, right?
Is that the Jamboard one? Google Jamboard?
I think they rebranded it recently. I think it's just draw.google.com.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's any other day. You're like, what's the new Google product? Which company did they buy and acquire and create? So
And then put it into the graveyard.
yeah. So I think there was a joke. I think there was a joke, and we've missed it. So I will get it. I'll watch the replay and I'll get the joke. So
Oh, graveyard joke?
no, I'm not sure.
Oh,
I'm not sure. I'll watch this back and I'll be like, oh, that was the joke. So we've got about 10 minutes left because we'll kind of keep to the 6 to 7 time slot because you've been working all day and I've been working all day and everybody who's here has probably been working all day. But just before we sort of we try and finish things up for us. If you are in the chat, if you're on the stream and you're wanting to throw in a question, feel free, put it in the chat. We'll throw it out to Jason and he'll give a chance to be able to answer there. If there's a question that you have afterwards, or if you're catching this on YouTube and you have a question for Jason and you think if I comment, it's never going to get to him, it will get to him. I always am watching our YouTube comments. So please throw it in the comments. I'll make sure it gets to Jason and then we'll find a way to get back to you. So yeah, feel free to throw your questions in the chat and yeah, and then we'll kind of watch for those in the last couple of minutes. So we're kind of approaching the end. So I'll ask some really important questions. What do you think is the most important skill for somebody to have if they are pursuing a technology career, be it a developer career or just a career where they're working in the tech industry? Like, what is the top skill that you would recommend they develop?
I think I mentioned communication and like the ability to learn, a little bit already. I think what I'll add to that is like a little bit of tenacity. Like don't give up. Like if you have that kind of attitude, then it'll definitely help. Yeah. There's going to be some challenges, like there's a lot of developers out there but there's also a lot of great tech companies. I think that's one of the best things about Victoria, in my opinion. There's like 800 some odd tech companies in Victoria. Like there's probably a tech company for anything you can think of. I'm a scuba diver, so there's this really cool company that built these autonomous boats that just to do like mapping and weather technology. I'm like, oh my God, that sounds so cool to me. There's a lot of really awesome stuff out there that, you just gotta keep working for it.
Totally.
Go like meet someone. Don't give up and go say, hey, what can I do to get a job here?
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, for the high school students that are watching this stream and even the university students, in the past 3 years of HighTechU, I think I've met with, 20 or 30 CEOs or senior C-suite folks and had conversations with them. And all of them are willing to have conversations with people. But also, like, a lot of them have told me about people they hired off the street with no experience because they came in the door and they were passionate and they brought that thing that you don't want to say no to. They brought their ability to share what they love doing.
Yeah, that's a really awesome story, Andrew, and I couldn't agree more. One of my early mentors at Helm Operation we went to Camosun, a capstone symposium, and I don't think it was that specifically, but that's where he told me he's like, or I was kind of learning about it because I went to Camosun. Like, what are you looking for? Like, what's your process here? And kind of like sussing out, potential candidates. He's like, I'm going to hand out my business cards to like almost everyone and tell them to stop by the office and ask if I want to go for coffee. And if they come to the office and ask me to go for coffee, I'll give them a job. And he was like so confident in saying that because no one took him off on his offer. It blew my mind. I think at one of the capstone symposiums a couple years ago, I said that same story. I'm like, come ask me for coffee. Like I can't promise you a job, but come ask for coffee. I'm happy to answer more questions, and we can do it virtually now. But I still haven't. Oh, you know what? I'll take that back. I did get one recently, but that's just one.
Yeah, it's so true, right? I mean, everybody. I know some people even recently that I've talked to who are working in the sector who have said like I've never applied for a job. I've never put a resume in and gone through that kind of standard process. It's always just been I've gone and talked to somebody, but they're so few and far between. Like everybody thinks the only gateway into a job is you wait for the job posting and you put the thing out.
Yeah, yeah. I know a lot of these small companies don't necessarily have the bandwidth to hire, to post, to recruit, but they might be looking for a job, or they might like not realize they need it until it's like at their doorstep. So again, like knock on some doors, take some people over coffees.
Totally. Okay, so I got two more questions. One's a tough one and one's an easy one. So the easy one we'll start with. What's the coolest kind of tech thing that you're like digging right now? Like the thing that you're into, like whether it's a framework, it's a site, it's just something tech related that people might want to check out.
Yeah, Firebase, absolutely the coolest tech I've worked on. It's We used it for Checkfront's site builder, and before when we were using it, it wasn't bought by Google, and now it's been bought by Google, and it's blowing up. It's so cool. The dev ecosystem and the environment are unbelievably awesome. They have cloud functions, hosting, authentication. They have a ton of like app modules and like crash analytics and analytics. There's performance model monitoring kind of built right into it. I'm like a huge fanboy for the software. And honestly, if Google knew I was like kind of raving, I'd hope that they would just like give you some stuff for free. But honestly, their free tier is so amazing. So I love it because for any side project you can, or any project at all, um, you get like 2 million invocations of cloud functions or app engine, and your hosting is like very unlikely to ever cost any money. And I think you get, I don't even know if there's any limit on authentication. So you get OAuth like out of the box for free.
Yeah. Well, and I remember like because we used Firebase in the first iteration of HighTechU because if you're building a database and if you're out there that and you're
Yeah.
not doing that, databases are hard to deal with. Like especially if you are wanting to create an app that has some sort of a storage feature and you don't want to have it stored in local storage. So when you clear your memories or cookies, it's hard to build that. But Firebase, it's like a backend as a service and you're just doing JSON, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I can't believe I didn't mention the database. The database part is like by far the best of it, but it's not the only thing. So cool, so powerful, so free, cheap,
yeah,
cheap.
so cheap. Yeah, and it's so true. I mean, Google is doing some really cool stuff. Like they're buying companies, but they're staying true to a lot of the source for so many of them. So I'm definitely with you there.
And the documentation is like next level. It's the best Google documentation I've ever seen.
Really, there you go.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I feel like the thing that you should. I remember when we first met and we had this conversation about documentation, and like I will say to the stream and to anybody that's watching that knows Jason, one of the first interactions we had was he said, I'm trying to get my team to love documentation because documentation is just key. It's so important. Anyways, I was putting in a documentation server at the time, so it hit home for me. Um, yeah. So okay. So the final question is the one that I ask everybody on every stream, and it's always the difficult one. If you are going to condense yourself into like a 30-second to a minute soundbite, if somebody only catches the very end of this stream, and you want to give them the golden nugget piece of advice from Jason Michaelwood, director of software development at a startup that's blowing up in Victoria, doing cool things, what is that piece of advice that you would give to somebody that's catching the stream? And I'm gonna make it just so you know, just so that I can make it even more stressful. I'm just gonna put it so it's only you on the screen. There we go.
Oh, I'm just going to summarize all of the things I've said. Be relentless, be have tenacity, like continue learning, Don't let anyone say you can't do it. Use whatever technology you have, and there's a ton of free technology, so use free technology if you can. Build and practice and practice and practice, and show people as soon as you have something to show them. Get feedback, and find someone that's like, this is the thing I haven't mentioned. Find someone that like really will look at what you've done and give you feedback. I'm really lucky to have like a really good friend and peer, who I show, like, we talk about technology all the time, and it goes back and forth, and we just like don't stop about, new stuff we're looking at, and we give each other feedback. It's really awesome. So if you find someone with that passion that you can share that with, don't ever let that go.
I love that. And I mean, I'll throw it out there. This is like our product placement thing. I mean, if you don't have that, and a lot of teenagers don't, right? They don't have somebody they can do that to. That's kind of what HighTechU is here for. We're here to connect you with mentors, peers that are doing things, building a community. Folks like Jason, who we're really lucky to have as both a mentor and an advisor for the program. So you can connect with awesome people like Jason and other mentors, connect with friends. We've got lots of programs that are both kind of like this, where you can just watch and kind of interact and just kind of be a fly on the wall, and also ones where you can practice skills and learn skills. And we even have a program where you can build a web app in like six days. Like, it's super. We've got a whole bunch of stuff for you. And it's definitely, if you're looking for that kind of mentorship that Jason's talking about, definitely check out hightechu.ca. We're also connected at the university, so we've got all of these additional resources, not only with industry, but here at the university as well. It's definitely worthwhile. And if you can't afford anything, some of our programs have fees, but we never charge if you can't afford it. So there's no barrier for you taking part in any of our programs.
That's awesome.
All right. Let me go back to that one. All right. So with that said, we're just past the 7 o'clock mark, but I'll throw for any final questions. Anybody that's out there that is dying to get a question in there. Thank you, Jason, for staying on the stream. Thank you to all of the folks that have stayed with us. Honestly, best stream, Jason, that we have seen in like the entire history of Q&A Corner, I think.
Well, I'm glad. And honestly, Andrew, thank you. I really appreciate you, being able to put stuff on like this and do all those great programs that you just mentioned that HighTechU is doing. So thank you.
Awesome. So with all that being said, I think we'll wrap it up so I can go home. So Jason can, I think, turn off his computer and be home. Thank you everybody for tuning in. It's been such a pleasure to not only get a chance to interact with a few of you in the chat, but hopefully to answer some questions and talk about some stuff that's relevant for you. If you want to learn more about HighTechU, I think that this will work. So I just put into the chat if you want to learn more about HighTechU. If you want to learn, subscribe to our YouTube channel where this will be posted later on. I just put that over in the chat as well. And if you just want to learn more about what we're doing, we've got lots of channels that are open to you. So thank you all so much. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, streamers. Thank you, Twitch. Thank you, technology gods. And thank you to all of you for staying healthy and staying safe. Be kind, be calm, be kind again, and be healthy, be safe. And we'll see you next time here on Q&A Corner, presented by HighTechU.